Today's project will be a monochromatic scale in acrylic. You'll need a pencil and a ruler for this specific project. We'll take a piece of canvas pad, and you can keep it in the actual pad, and we're going to draw on it. And you can definitely draw on canvas. There's nothing wrong with that. Definitely use a harder pencil, like not a 6B, not something really soft, because it'll leave a lot of pencil all over. Okay? Now, when you measure this out, I want you to make 1-inch squares, and I want you to make 11 of them. Now, we're going to put other things on this paper for sure, so make sure that you don't put it like dead center or anything. If you have a ruler like this one, you can probably literally trace the edges of it because it's about the right size. Okay? Then use the ruler again to mark out 1-inch increments. How many? 11. Now, sometimes you do 10. I want 11 because I want an actual middle. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just drawing the lines at the mark for each inch there. But we're doing 11. Okay, that'll allow us to have a center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Alright. Now, the next thing is to decide what color your scale is going to be. It's a monochromatic scale, so it's going to have black, it's going to have white, and then it's going to have any of the other colors in your kit. I have the 3 primaries here to choose from, but you could use any of the colors if you like. Okay? I'll use blue. Now, how much paint to squeeze out? When you first start, remember, you can always get more, but you cannot put it back in the container. You take your palette, or whatever surface you're going to be using, shake the paint. Give it a good shake. Okay? And carefully open the cap. And just squeeze out a little bit, maybe as big as a penny. Takes a little bit of strength. Okay, that's enough for now. You can get more. Okay? Make sure you cap it. Do not leave your paint open. Okay? We'll need white. It's not going to dry while I'm talking, so we'll put some white right there. And we're also going to need black. Again, it's a monochromatic scale, meaning one color plus black and white. And these flip cap tubes do take a good squeezing. As you can see how I'm holding it. Right? Good squeeze. There you go. Okay. Alright. Now, since these are squares, I've chosen to use a brush that is flat. Be sure to use a brush that's flat. It just makes it that much easier for you. Flat brush, as opposed to a pointed or round brush. Okay? Alright. Now, the center is where we're going to put our color, full strength, the way it comes from the container. Okay? And in my case, it's blue. I'll get a little bit of that on the brush. Notice you don't need a whole lot. You don't have to dip it in completely. You don't want to get it on the metal part, the ferrule. And then just lay it in on the canvas. Notice I kind of flip my brush over and over again to get all the paint out. I'll paint it all in one direction. Then using the edge of the brush, kind of finish it up. If I need more paint, I know where to go. Right here. Wipe the excess off. Don't get too much, especially when you're almost done with a square. Alright. Take your time. Painting it in nice and solid. Color of your choice. Does not have to be a primary. Okay. There's a little shine on that, but as you can see, nice blue. Okay. In your kit, you do have 2 blues. They're hardly different from each other, but you will see they act a little bit different, especially when they are mixed. Okay? Next, we're going to work up the scale. So now I'm going to be adding a little bit of white to my blue. Now, I don't want to go and get more blue later, so I'm going to use some of this blue. I'm just going to put it over here and say this amount I'll use with my white combinations. So working my way up the scale. So now I'm just going to barely touch the white. That was probably too much, but let's see what happens. And I'll get a lovely light blue. Okay? Now, to my mind, because I've made many value scales before, I would say this might be a little bit too big of a jump for the first step. Okay? However, I'm going to lay it in because I can fix it later. But I don't think I'm going to lay it in right here. I think I'm going to lay it in here. Now, you guys who have had the intro class with me, you know that I tell you, make all of the colors beforehand, agree with your partner which one's which, etc. Okay? But now it's just you, and you can figure out if it's right or wrong. And if it is wrong, acrylic is very easy to paint over. So if it comes out like something you did not expect and you don't like the color, you can definitely paint over it later. Okay? Now, again, in my intro classes, I don't recommend going back and forth, but in reality, when you are painting, you will be going back and forth quite a bit. You'll dig into the original sample of blue here and there. You know, just try not to corrupt your entire sample. What I'm doing now is going backwards. So I'm going back to blue in an attempt to get something that's a nice jump or step up from this blue to that one, because I think that was a big jump. There we go, that's a nice one. Make sure before I finish the square that I've got enough paint in that color at least. And sometimes I kind of quickly spread it around. Acrylic's good for this. And then just push it to the edges. Notice the brush, I'm just kind of in the paint and just pushing it towards the edge. Okay. Sometimes if the paint is all liquidy, it's difficult to manipulate. So it's good to let it be pushed around when it's in its liquid state, when it's in its really liquid state. Okay. Now we're going up the scale continuously, so we're going to be getting lighter and lighter and lighter. That last value will be very, very light, almost hardly even noticeably a blue. Now to test the color, if it's the right blue, as a step up from the last one I did, I'll just hold my brush over that area. Notice when you're mixing color using a brush, please push your paint toward the center so that your puddles don't get any larger. Remember that when they get larger, they dry faster. Okay. Now I will continue to paint this, but if you feel like you've got the idea, please feel free to start. And as soon as I'm done with this white side, and I'm going to add more white, I will start to work on the dark side. And the dark side is going to be back to our original blue, or your original color, plus black. Hold the brush over the color, see if it really is different from the last one. Sure is. Paint it right in. Now for this particular assignment, you're trying to get nice solid boxes of color. When in reality, when you're really painting, you'll probably have multiple varieties and all different interesting variations. But for this project, you really do just want to get them nice and solid. Okay, for the last bit on this side, I'm going to add a ton of white. I say a ton, but look at what I'm talking about here. Tiniest bits, right? And as you can see, since I'm done with this project pretty soon, with white anyway, I actually got too much paint. Which is funny because when I first put it on the palette, I thought, I don't know if that's enough. Of course it's enough. And where can you go to get more? Your supplies. You always have more. Okay? And there we go. That last one is very, very light blue. There you go. Now, since I'm switching to the colors that use black next, I am going to definitely rinse my brush, which I have not done since we started. Rinsing your brush with acrylic is just wet it, and then with a paper towel, a rag, or the edge of an apron, you wipe the brush. And for the rag, sorry I did not include one, but any piece of an old t-shirt is great. You can get 5 or 6 rags out of one old t-shirt. Cotton, not polyester. Polyester does not help you clean up. It's plastic, and so this is plastic paint, and the paint just kind of slips around. So if you've got some kind of silky fabric you're trying to clean brushes with, it might not work. Good old cotton, perfect. Alright, so now I'm going back to the original blue, and I'm only going to be adding black. Okay, so there's a little bit of black. And I know black, the color paint, goes a long way. Changes the paint very quickly. Okay, even though that wasn't very much black at all that I just kind of put on the palette before I brought this color, the blue, you can already see it's darker. Okay, add a little more. Make sure that effect is clear. Hope that's not too much. Ooh, that's kind of nice, huh? Alright, and then I'll paint that one in. Now, as you can see, a little bit of black changes it, a little bit more. It's an infinite variety, and it goes the same way with white, of course. Any color, right? It'll always change it. And you can go back and forth if you realize you've changed it too much. A speck of black will change color quite a bit. A speck of white will not have as much of an effect. So often when you're trying to lighten a color, you may find yourself kind of wasting white. That means you need to take a bit of the color you're trying to lighten and add it to some white instead of adding white to the color you're trying to lighten. Now it may not be discernible from the camera, but this one is darker than the one I just painted. Okay, so now I get some more of that black. Whoa, this color is getting dark very quickly. A little too quick. That one's going to go there. There we go. Now notice if you're painting too thinly, meaning you're not using enough paint, you'll see through the canvas too much. And that'll give you this kind of watercolory effect. And that's not what you want, not with the acrylic on canvas anyway. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're using enough paint that you're really kind of filling in all the surface. In other words, if you get this look, this kind of dry look, it just means you need more paint. Okay? Because all that's happening is the paint is just grabbing the very top part of the textured fabric. And it is fabric. This is canvas. Real canvas. Same thing they make Vans shoes out of. Alright, and then the last one. It's not totally black. It's a very, very dark blue-black. It's got to have some of your base color in it. But it's basically black. Now, of course, I did mine very quickly because it's a demonstration, and I want you guys to work at your own pace and go ahead and get this done. Remember, you can choose any color you want to do it with. That color will go in the center. Remember that it is 11 boxes, not 10, but 11, so that you actually do have a legitimate middle. And then it's every step up is adding white, or every step down is adding a little bit of black. Again, notice how much paint is left on my palette. Don't make my mistake. Use even less. You'll see that the white comes out in a big clump when you squeeze it. It's got a softer tube, so be careful with that one. As far as black, it goes a long way. So as you can see, I still have some left. The blue, I did use a good amount, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot left on the palette. Now, when you're actually working with a project, you'll almost always find places to use your paint, especially because now it's your paint, and you know you can't just go get more from the cabinet. So you'll figure out how to conserve, I hope, using your own paint and supplies, which is definitely something that every artist needs to learn. Okay, so again, it's a monochromatic scale, 11 spots. You pick the base color. It does not have to be a primary like I have on the board here, but it could be any color you like. And cleanup is you let the paint dry in open air. If you have a mess of a palette like this, you can just wipe it off with a towel or a paper towel and throw that away, and then let what's there still dry. If you have a disposable palette, you could throw it all away, but I wouldn't do that with this. I've covered such a little area of it, I'll actually probably just wipe it so it's smooth, and then I'll just use it again to mix colors next time I do a demonstration in acrylic. Now, don't put anything else on this page because we will put another scale of another type here. We're also going to do some skin and flesh studies, and then you'll have a little patch area here to also test a few colors as you get into your first few acrylic projects. Okay? All right. That's the monochromatic scale in acrylic, and always make sure you do clean your brushes or they will be ruined. If you get a phone call, if you take a break, remember, you leave your brushes not soaking in water. This is how they die. This is how you kill brushes. You have to actually stop and clean them. That's what you do every time you're done. And if you know you're going to be getting up and going away for a while, like let's say it's lunchtime, clean your brushes and then go eat. Okay, it's really important. Now, if you know you're coming right back, let's say, oops, I just have to open the door to let the dog out. You can totally put your brush, even if it has some paint, across your cup of water or something like that. Okay, or you can even put it in there like that, but not for long, because the water on this will also deteriorate the paint on the handle, and that will come off as well. Okay, so best thing to do is if you know you're going to get up and walk away, just rinse your brushes at least. Your paint may dry out. Not a lot you can do about that. But at least your brushes, if they dry, they won't be ruined. Okay? All right.